And joining us now is Erica Payne. She is the president of the Agenda Project and the Agenda Project Action Fund. Now, you may remember the ad that came out, Paul Ryan throwing Granny over the cliff. It was a Paul Ryan lookalike taking Granny out for a wheelchair ride right off a rocky ledge, and then the poor lady plunges to her death in her pink slippers. Now, the person responsible for that ad is this group, the Agenda Project Action Fund. And I understand, Erica, you, I guess, had something to do with that ad, throwing Granny over the cliff?
I did have something to do with that ad. The group that I run, the Agenda Project Action Fund, put that ad together.
Well, I got to be honest, there's a part of me, that's my favorite ad. Because it shows just how insane the left has come. So I use your ad often. You know, here's Paul Ryan, this poor lady. You see, I think by the end of this election cycle, you know what's going to happen? We're going to have a Paul Ryan and Mitt Romney lookalike. It's not extreme enough to just throw Granny over the cliff. Next time, we're going to slice her throat, stab her in the heart 19 times, 3 pops to the back of the head, then throw her over the cliff.
Well, I think if Paul Ryan gets to do to Medicare what he'd like to do, the equivalent of that is going to happen. So you may have your wish.
So you think that Paul Ryan really, by the way, his own mother's on Medicare, you think Paul Ryan really wants Granny to go over the cliff? You really believe that's what's going to happen?
Here's the thing. I really believe, and I think that that facts have shown that Paul Ryan wants to do a radical reshaping of Medicare, which, in my opinion, is not going to cover the cost of Medicare for seniors. And Paul Ryan's mother is Paul Ryan, well, and a lot of other people's facts. So, but I mean, one thing you've got to understand is what Paul Ryan's budget has proposed is going to add about $6,400 to senior bills, and that comes from the Office of Management and Budget, which is a nonprofit.
All right. Before we get to the ins and outs and the nitty gritty of all this, which I'm glad to debate with you, there's only one candidate in this election that has cut over $700 billion in Medicare, and that's Barack Obama. Wait 1 second. Wait 1 second, because I want to know that, because if you're so concerned about cutting Medicare to help fund Obamacare, President Obama sold Obamacare as being under $1 trillion. Now, if you want to quote CBO, they went up to $1.8 trillion. Now the estimated cost is $2.7 trillion. So it's now 3 times what his original proposal was. And he already gutted $700+ billion for Medicare to help pay for another entitlement.
I hear you, but I think you've got to start with the idea that it seems most Americans recognize the fact that we are paying a lot for health care and that we aren't getting out of it what we're putting.
No. You're missing my question. You got it. No. You don't get to just go off on your talking points. You got to answer my question. So Obama sold health care to the American people as being under $1 trillion. We were going to pay taxes for 10 years for 6 years of benefits. Now the CBO, which you just quoted before, their original estimate was $900 billion, $1.8 trillion. Now it's $2.7 trillion, so it's 3 times the cost. My question to you is, to also pay for it, he gutted Medicare $700 billion. So I want to know when your group is going to come out with an ad with an Obama lookalike throwing Granny with her pink slippers over the cliff, because it sounds to me like you're a partisan group that is trying to scare seniors with false information. And if you were really being fair to seniors like you say you want to be, you would show Obama throwing Granny over that cliff.
So, Sean, let me be real clear. We are not a partisan group, and
sure you are.
We've been critical of the administration and critical of Harry Reid, Governor Patterson, Governor Dean, when they have done things that we did not agree with.
Where's your ad about Obama raiding Medicare?
I will tell you, when President Obama ended when he extended the tax cuts for people who make more than $1 million a year during the last lame duck session under pressure from conservatives, we came out very aggressively against President Obama. So we are a nonpartisan group. We have criticized both sides of the aisle about equally at this point.
Well, stop for a second. If it's equal, and Obama did what he said he was going to do, and he gutted Medicare, and Paul Ryan only had a proposal to save Medicare, and we'll get into the specifics in a second, why did you only run the ad of Paul Ryan throwing Granny over the cliff? And will you, if you're really going to be true to your statement that you're fair, will you run an ad saying that Barack Obama gutted $700+ billion for Medicare, and he's throwing Granny over the cliff?
If I ever get to a point with President Obama where I believe that he is going to end Medicare as we know it, I promise you, Sean, I will do an ad that is at least.
But he already did the thing that you complain that you think that Paul Ryan was going to do, and you still haven't run the ad.
The fraud that President Obama cut out
waste
of
and fraud
is absolutely, there is no equivalent between what the
$716 billion
he try to make it more efficient and the wholesale dismantling of Medicare that Paul Ryan would like to do.
Can we just get rid of this idea that you're fair and objective? You are never going to vote for Romney Ryan. You are an Obama supporter. Can we just be honest here?
Let's be honest here, Sean. And
are you an Obama supporter?
I was one of the first groups in the country to come out against President Obama.
I'm asking, did you vote for President Obama in 2008?
Who didn't need to know it. I think that the way people vote is actually
notice liberals don't want to answer questions.
And that's a real central part of American democracy.
Did you vote for President Obama in 2008, and are you supporting President Obama in 2012? That's a simple question.
To be transparent for you, Sean, I voted for President Obama because 4 years ago, and I will likely vote for him again.
Shocking.
And while we're on the range of being transparent, I would like to see Mitt Romney's tax returns.
You would like to see Mitt Romney? I'll tell you what, I'd like to see Obama's tax records. I mean, school records. How's that? A fair deal. Obama releases his college records.
There is zero equivalent between those two things.
Oh, I think there's plenty of equivalent.
Has released half.
You're giving me every liberal talking point. How about we look at Obama's thesis? Let's look at his college record, how he goes from Occidental, how he makes it to Harvard. Let's look at his thesis, because, he's like, for example, I think it's, can I finish? I think it's a little odd that somebody hangs out with Reverend Wright, Bill Ayers, the unrepentant terrorist, a guy that never created a job, had no experience in job creation. And he goes out there and nobody examines his background, admits to snorting cocaine and being part of the Choom gang and smoking a lot of pot. Things that used to bother people in the past. Doesn't the Bill Ayers Association bother you a little bit?
You're saying that no one examined President Obama's background? The conservatives had people climbing all over his preschool.
How many people in the mainstream?
Everybody. I mean, this is.
Nobody's seen his college records.
I'll be happy to talk about some reasonable criticisms you have of his administration, and there are certainly things that they should have done better that I have criticized them for not doing better. And so,
you want me to give you an example of media bias? I'll help you out.